Okay, so welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. As you can see from the first slide there, tonight we're specifically talking about team building for beginners. And this is one of a series of 8 webinars that I run called the Kleeneze Circle of Success. As you can see there, we're currently on number 4. The first 3 that I've done, I do one a week every Wednesday night, or pretty much every Wednesday night. So occasionally I have to miss one. And the first 3 are all about the retail side, the sort of the catalogue. So getting started, what to do in your first 4 weeks, building your customer base up, and that's mostly about the catalogue side of the business. Tonight and next week is about the team building side. So tonight is getting started with team building. Next week is then about supporting team members. And then the last 3 are all about kind of personal development skills. So those skills outside of, once you know how to put a catalogue out, once you know how to deliver an order, once you know how to kind of find team members and support them, the other skills that are really, really useful to grow your business. And that's what we cover in the last 3 weeks. Now, all of these webinars are recorded. So I said earlier I'm recording this one. So if you're at the point in the business when actually the training about getting started or the first few weeks would be really useful, then right at the end of this webinar I'll explain where you can find all of the recordings, so you can go back and if you want to watch all 8 and you've got a day to put aside, what would it be? It's probably about half an hour to each one, so you could probably do the whole lot in a morning if you're that keen. So they're all on there, and I'll explain right at the end how to get to them all. So specifically tonight, as I said, we're talking about team building for beginners. And what we're going to cover is asking a bit about whether or not you have to build a team, why should you build a team, what tools do you need, and then how to get started with team building. I'm going to talk about rods in the pond, which will make sense once we get to that bit, so don't worry too much for the moment. And then when you get a lead, and that's somebody who might be interested in earning a bit of extra money, what do you do with it? And then what information to send them, and then following up once you've kind of had a chance to chat with your lead and your prospects. So, quick question to those of you who are in the business at the moment. Do you have to build a team? What are your thoughts on that? Anybody got any thoughts? Do you have to build a team? Jonathan, yes. Okay. Any other opinions? No, only if you want to. Yeah, Amanda. Good. And I guess you're kind of right and wrong in both. So let me explain there. Beneficial Louisa, that's probably right. So the answer, the absolute answer, if you like, is no, you don't have to. In fact, most distributors do not team build, for a variety of different reasons. Not everybody wants to. A lot of people join the business just for an extra £50 or £100 a week, but and you can certainly do that very part-time, just doing the catalogues, and that's great, because that's the kind of the business is built on the retail side of it. So most distributors don't build a team. However, it's really important to know that you can, and we often get team builders, if you like, team leaders, who become team leaders by accident. And that's typically what happens is you'll be delivering your catalogues, you'll deliver an order to a customer, and they'll say, do you know if you're looking for other distributors in the area? Now, initially you might think, oh, actually I don't really want another distributor in my area because I want all the customers for myself. But if they're looking for a way to earn a bit of extra money and they like the idea of Kleeneze, if they don't join your team, they'll join somebody else's team, and then they're your competition. So it's always worth bearing in mind that if you get a customer or somebody who says, are you looking for other distributors, then the answer absolutely is yes. And you can I'll show you in a moment. You can give them some information. If you're new in the business and you're not quite sure what to do, speak to your sponsor, your team leader, and they can explain how it all works to your customer. And that's a great way to become a team leader. And you can kind of both cover the same town. There's hundreds and hundreds of examples of 2 or 3 or 4 distributors all covering the same area. And if they're all in your team as well, then that's fantastic. So, although you don't have to, why should you build a team? Well, we've had a few comments there about residual income and a good income, so that's absolutely right. Because there's no limit to how many people you can have in your team, you can earn a much bigger income as a team leader than you possibly can as just a distributor. We have some distributors earning enormous amounts of money. At the Millionaires College at the weekend, Sat Sagu was one of the speakers, and he's a high retailer. He regularly puts in orders of £5,000, £5,000 a quarter, and he'll be earning sort of £3,000-4,000 a month from that. £2,500 a month, probably something like that. And you can earn that full time, doing the catalogs, but you can earn even more than that as a team leader. And the big advantage of it is as a team builder, you get paid when you're ill. If you're ill and you can't get your own catalogs out and you can't deliver to your customers, there's nobody going to do it for you. Well, maybe your partner will, but if you're both ill, or if you're on holiday or whatever, if you've got a big team, then you're still getting paid all of your bonuses even while you're away. And there are examples of people that have been away who actually live out of the country. There's a couple, Jamie and Adele De Casso, who live in Spain quite a lot of the time. Tony Briffa, who's been in the business for a long time, spent an awful long time in Italy, where his family's originally from, and he's still getting paid all of those bonuses while he's away because of the work he did building a team. So there are some big advantages in doing that. So, what do you need? What tools do you need if you want to be a team leader, a team builder? Well, the first thing you need is you need something to say to a prospect, to somebody who's interested in earning a bit of extra money. Quite often, the facts about the business, the fact that it's you deliver catalogs, collect them back in again, deliver the goods to your customers. Some people will say, see, that's okay, but I've got a couple of little kids, so I'm not sure that I could do it around them. And if you don't have children yourself, then the stories of other distributors and how they've built successful businesses, after they've retired, or while they've got young children, or alongside a full-time job, or all sorts of different scenarios. If you've got stories of people who have done that, then you can explain that to a lead, a prospect, and that might turn them around from being sort of very doubtful to suddenly being curious and wanting to know more. So EasyReach is a great tool. If you don't know how to get to EasyReach, speak to your sponsor. They'll show you how to get onto that. And every day, Gavin sends down messages from different distributors on how they started, what their situation is, hints and tips. So that's a great tool just to kind of provide you with a bit of background information when you start team building. The other obvious things that you'll need some kind of diary. Now that can just be a paper diary in a notebook, or you can use a computer if you prefer. Just for tracking, if you've promised to call somebody back after a day or so once they've looked at some information, you need to be able to track that down. You can't rely on your memory to think, oh well, I must remember to speak to Susan, and I must remember to call Graham, and so you need to keep track of it. And you need a lead book. A lead book is basically just, again, a notebook or some kind of card file system, or a computer. These days, lots and lots of people have got computers, so you can keep track of it in computers. The lead book is basically just where you keep track of the people that you've had responding to your adverts, or that you're speaking to, and where they are in the process. Have you sent them some information yet? Have you called them yet? So you definitely need something like that. It's pretty much impossible to run a successful business if you don't have a telephone, so you do need a telephone. And you need some information to send prospects. If you've got an advert, say, asking people whether they want to earn a bit of extra money, I'm sure you'll all remember when you first replied to an advert, you'll have been sent some information. Now, it could have been that somebody came round to see you, or it could have been that they emailed you some information, or they sent you some information in the post. There's a variety of ways of doing it, but obviously you do need some information to send them. So, how can we get started? So, assuming that you're not just an accidental team leader, but you've consciously decided you're going to start building a team. A great way to get started and to practice, really, is on your warm list. And the warm list is just people that you know. It can be family, teachers at your children's school, it can be friends, it can be colleagues at work. Start off by just making a list of 10 people that you know. Sometimes we say, oh, write down a list of everybody that you know, but that can seem like never ending that. So start off with just 10. Just write down 10 people that you know. And then call them up. And what we do is normally just give them a call, and we use what's called the third party approach. So that's basically just ring them up. Hi Graham, how are you? It's Chris. Hope you're well. Graham, I wondered if you can do me a favour. I've just started building a team of people who are looking to earn a bit of extra money. And I wondered if you could do me a favour. If I send you some information about what we do, would you have a look at it? And if you can think of anybody who might be interested, would you send them my details or pass it on to them? So you're not actually saying to them, oh, Graham, you're always skint, you're always borrowing money from me. Here, you could do with a way of earning a bit of extra money. Have a look at this and let me know when you want to join. Because all that's going to do is wind them up. By saying, do you know somebody who might be interested, they're a friend, they're going to do you a favour. They'll just say, oh yeah, I'll have a look. If I can think of anyone, I'll let you know. So that's a great way to get started. And then you can send them the information. And every day you can add more people to your list. If you just start off with 10, and then every day make a conscious decision, spend 10 minutes adding sort of 3, 4, 5 more, and then again you can ring them up. And excuse me, we'll talk a bit in a moment about the different kinds of information that you can send them. But once you've sent them, a really good thing to do then, a day or two later, is just to follow that up. Just give them a quick call. Say, did you get a chance to have a look at it? Did anybody come to mind? Now, what you'll find is some people will say, actually, you know what? My hours are getting cut at work in a couple of weeks. I've been looking for something to do alongside that. I might be interested in that. And you'll often find that people who you've approached, not saying to them specifically, would you be interested, but just asking if they can think of anybody, they'll say they're interested themselves. And even if they're not, and the majority of them won't be interested, but what you're doing is you're sowing seeds. You're letting your friends and family and colleagues know that you have a way to earn some extra money. So if their circumstances ever change, and they've kind of seen you over the last few weeks and months start to earn a bit of extra money, and you're treating yourself and taking the family out more and going on holidays, and you've got new cars, and suddenly they're thinking, you know what, Jimmy said something about this a few weeks ago. I'm going to give him a call and ask for that information again. So that's what you're doing at this point. You're not necessarily getting people to join straight away, but you're sowing those seeds. Okay, now the warm list is one example of what we call fish pond activity. And the reason we call it that is if you can imagine that the world, or at least the people in the United Kingdom out there, 60 odd million people, I don't know however many now, 30, 40 million adults, are like the fish in your pond. And you're looking for the people out there in amongst that lot who could do with, who would like to earn a bit of extra money, or would like to have the time freedom or the freedom of choice that a business like Kleeneze would give them. And you can imagine them as all these 60 million fish, whatever it is, 30 million fish, sorry, in this large pond. And your job is to find the ones that are interested. So, quick question: if you are an angler, a fisherman, if you've ever seen any serious fishermen, either on the beach or on the end of a pier or by a big lake, have you seen how many fishing rods they use? Any anglers out there? Anybody want to take a guess as to how many fishing rods? Don't know. When I was a kid, I remember going out with a bent stick and a piece of string with a nail on the end of it, trying to dangle a worm off the end. Yeah, Dave, mate uses 3 at least, loads. Yeah, I mean that's the point really. You rarely see fishermen or anglers out there with one fishing rod, and that's kind of why we use that analogy, because the more the merrier. Basically, that you'll find there are lots of different ways to find people, and in a way, if you see an angler, they might use one kind of bait on one line and a different kind of bait on another line, and some lines will sink a bit lower to get the fish that are near the bottom, and some lines will be nearer the top for the surface fish, and so on. So they're all a little bit different, and it's the same with Kleeneze. So when you're starting off, it's useful to have some kind of website to attract people. Now, you don't have to do this to get started if you're just talking to your warm list and so on. But if you're starting to do maybe leafleting or putting an advert out or in shop windows and so on, then I would really recommend that you have some kind of website that people can go to. And so you can choose a domain name, speak to your upline for the details of how to do this. There are some companies out there, and Big Advertising is one that I've used in the past, so I'm happy to recommend them. There are others as well that will help you set up everything that you need, really. And they set up what's called a contact manager as well. And a contact manager is a bit like as I mentioned earlier, you'll need some way of keeping track of all of your leads. So in that terminology, a lead is a contact, and having a manager where you can just keep a list of them all with all of their details, and you can keep notes of when you last contacted them. That's really, really useful. And an autoresponder is a tool that allows you to automatically send emails to people. Yep, Dave's just mentioned there, names.co.uk is a good place to check for a domain name. So if you were thinking, oh, I'm going to have www.chris'sbigwebsite.com, then you might want to check if that's still free, and that's a way of doing that. Okay, once you've got a website set up, and you can obviously start before you've got that in place, but I would say if you're going to get serious about it, it's useful to have one of those quite soon. Different rods in the pond, different adverts, if you like, or ways of finding people that might want to earn a bit of extra money. I'm just going to go through a few now. I'm not going to go through them all in detail. But for example, shop window adverts. You see the cards in shop windows. A lot of them were traditionally like newsagents, where you'll see the kind of big plastic folders with lots of different postcards in. So they're a great place to start. More and more shops are quite happy to put little adverts in your windows, in their windows for you as well. So you don't have to just limit yourself to newsagents. Leafleting is a great one for targeting at a particular area. So you can just go and deliver leaflets in the same way that you deliver catalogues. Pop the leaflets through the doors, advertising for people that looking for people that want to earn a bit of extra money. Newspaper adverts, that's another good way of doing it. I always say when you're thinking about rods in the pond, there's always a cost associated with them. Now, sometimes the cost is financial, and sometimes it's your time. So, for example, when you're delivering leaflets, the leaflets themselves may not be very expensive, but obviously it takes you time to actually put them through all the doors. Whereas something like a newspaper advert or an internet advert, it might only take you 5 or 10 minutes to put it in place, but you usually have to pay for that. But there are other ones that are a lot cheaper. So, for example, wearing a badge. If you've got a badge, there are lots available on the BIDS web shop. If you don't know where BIDS is, let me know later on and I'll explain that to you, or speak to your upline. Wearing a little badge that just says something like, are you sick of your job? Ask me about mine, or something like that. So, and then what you'll find is when you're kind of going to pay for something at the till or something like that, then somebody will start looking at your badge, especially Bob Webb always says, wear it at a bit of an angle, upside down or sideways or something, and you'll see their head turning, and that's a great way just to break the ice. You can just laugh and say, oh yeah, sorry, it's a bit wonky, isn't it? But actually, I know what you're thinking. I'm looking for people who would like to earn a bit of extra money, and then you can give them one of your cards. If you can think of somebody who might be interested, would you pass on my details, or something like that. So it's a really kind of easy way to do it. It doesn't take you long to do it, because you can just do it as you're going about your normal business anyway, and it costs you next to nothing, 10p for a badge, something like that. What other things in there? So a sign on your car, that's a great way to do it. You pay for that probably, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 pounds, something like that maybe. But once it's up there, you're advertising your business everywhere you drive. So that's a great kind of cost-effective way to generate leads. There's a variety of different types of business cards. So I use 2 different ones. Some business cards, I've got my name. They say I'm a Kleeneze Distributor, and I tend to give those to people that I know or have already spoken to. And you can get other business cards that are more closed, open cards, which just say, would you like to earn some extra money in your spare time, or something like that, and then a contact number and a website on there. Again, the BIDS web shop has a great variety of different kind of cards you can use. Posters, you can put posters up on telegraph poles, just advertising as well. That's a good way of doing things as well. You can do surveys. There's a survey that you can copy from, I think, in one of the books that you get when you first start up. There's a survey where you can just ask, you're standing in the high street, just like a lot of these sort of market research companies, ask people a few questions, and it leads them towards, would you be interested in finding out a way of earning some extra money? And then obviously you take their details and you can send them information. Your upline may well have an ad pool, so that's basically when you advertise in somewhere that's a little bit more expensive, but you get a lot of responses to it, and then you can share the costs and share the results. There are specialist companies that do a lot of advertising for this kind of work for us as well. So companies like Advert Anywhere, like Private Eye. Again, have a chat with your upline because I'm sure they'll know about those. Your customers are a great place to find details of, a great source of leads. Your customers are obviously buying from you, so make sure that your customers know that you're looking to build your team. And it doesn't have to be just in your area. It can be, if they've got a nephew in Manchester, a son-in-law in Newcastle that's just lost their job. You need to make sure that they're thinking of you whenever they hear of somebody who could do with a bit of extra money. And the 3-foot rule is another great one that's absolutely free to use. You're stood in the post office queue, chatting about the weather or whatever, and just as you go to get served, just say to them, "Oh, look, sorry to trouble you. Can I just give you my card? If we're expanding my business in the area, if you know somebody that would be interested in some extra income, would you pass on my details?" And you never know where that'll lead as well. So that's just an example. There's a lot more different variety of different kind of rods that you can use, but that will kind of hopefully get you started. And as we said at the beginning there, the more you use, the more rods you use, the more fish you'll catch. If you only use one type, then you're going to be kind of minimize the number of fish you can catch, or the number of leads that you get. And as I said, this is just a summary, so please feel free at the end if you wanted to ask specifically about any of those, just let me know and I can go through it in a bit more detail. So, what do you do when you get a lead? If you get a response to an advert, normally the first thing you do is go, ring your upline straight away. Someone's replied to my advert, what do I do? But if you've thought about it before, then hopefully you've kind of prepared for all of this. So the first thing that I would recommend is you try to call them within 24 hours. It's possible to send information to people straight away through emails and texts and things like that, but really, if you can talk to them, that rapport, just by giving them a quick chat, just finding out a little bit about their situation, tell them you're going to send them some details, that will really make a lot of difference. And don't worry too much about exactly what you say. You will make a lot of mistakes. Everybody does. All you're doing at this stage, at the beginning, is it's literally a 30-second or 60-second phone call. "Hi, my name's Chris. You just replied to our advert about earning some extra money. Have you got a minute?" And usually they'll say yes, or "Could you call me back a bit later if they're in work or something?" And then I normally just sort of say, "Can you tell me a little bit about your situation?" And then I say, "Okay, let me send you some details about what we do and what we're looking for." And then once you've had a chance to have a look through it, if you've got any questions at all, or if it's the sort of thing you might be interested in, just reply to the email and I'll give you a call straight back. So it really is just a very short phone call. You're not trying to talk them through it all on the phone. So as I've said there, very brief conversation. You're just trying to build a little bit of rapport with them at this stage. You can give them a summary of the opportunity. I often say it's like a home shopping business, and there are two parts to it. The first part is more like catalogue delivery. We're also looking for team leaders. But really, if you start getting into long conversations, then you need to be a professional salesman, if you like, to try to sell it to people, and it definitely doesn't work. We've got professional videos produced for the company. You should make use of them. And hopefully they would like a bit more information, so you can send it to them. The words that I use, I've got a little script, so if anybody would like a copy of the script, then I'm happy to email that on to you if you send me your email or send me an email. Let me just quickly type my email in here for anybody that wants to send me an email. Sorry. Oh, it's supposed to be an at in the middle there, not a quote, but hopefully you get the gist there. So yeah, just if you want a copy of the script, drop me an email and I'll send that to you. And as you're talking to them, be excited. You know, people. I mean, I don't mean over the top as if you're on drugs, but people join you, not Kleeneze. Now, obviously, they want to know what the opportunity is, but actually, you know, if you're kind of sounding very drained and tired, and you probably don't want to join, do you? Because it means delivering catalogs, and a lot of people don't want to do that. If you're very negative about it when you're just talking to them, they're going to say no straight away. But if you're excited, you've got this opportunity that can really transform people's lives and their finances and their family life and all sorts of things, then they're going to be interested to finding out more about it. And send the information to them as soon as possible. If you've spoken to somebody and then it's 3 days later before you send them the details, you know, they're going to have kind of looked at something else, or if they thought, oh, that Kleeneze sounds interesting, they'll have gone and found some other distributor to get the information from. So literally, as soon as you put the phone down, make sure that you've got the information to them. And don't try to sell it to them over the phone. As I say, all you're doing at the beginning is making a little bit of rapport with them, and saying, is it okay to send you some more info? That's literally about it. As I say, if you're on the phone for more than 60 seconds or a couple of minutes at the most, then you're really talking too much. However, if they do have any questions, it's okay to clarify questions. You don't need to sort of say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to answer anything. If they ask a lot of questions, it might be worth saying, I tell you what, would it be okay if I send you this information pack, because it will probably answer most of your questions there. And then if you've still got any questions, once you've had a chance to have a look at it, I'll give you a call back tomorrow and I can answer any other questions that you might have. So, doing it in a polite way, but it's much better if you can send them the information, especially if you're generating lots of leads and you've got lots of phone calls to make. Then you won't want to be kind of spending ages answering all their questions if you can avoid it. Okay, what sort of information do you send to your prospects and your leads? So, as I've said, we've got all this professional information that you can send to them, so don't try to do it yourself. There's the opportunity brochure and the DVD. You should all get, I believe, 5 sets of brochures and DVDs. Oh, thanks, Amanda. That's a great website that you can send to people as well. Yeah, you should all have 5 sets of DVDs and brochures, so you can send that to people in the post. And what I prefer to do, if I can, these days, everybody likes to get things really, really quickly. And if you're sticking stuff in the post, that's going to take 24 hours to get to them. They may well have gone on to Google and started to look for things anyway. So if you can send it to them via an email as soon as possible, they're much more likely to have a look at it. If you go onto YouTube, Kleeneze Headquarters have a YouTube channel, and there's loads of useful little videos in there. They're in a range called It Works. There's a number of summary videos. A couple, like a 5-minute summary video and a 2-minute summary video. There's the 15-minute Angela Griffin video, which is a great one to send them. So have a look at there. The beauty of the videos that are in the series It Works, is that there's a range of different people in there. So there's people like Peter and Jackie White who are kind of almost retired when they joined the business. In fact, they've both been made redundant within about a week of each other, so it's almost an enforced retirement. There's people like Nick and Grace Sassanelli. Grace just wanted to be able to spend time at home with her children. So there's lots of different examples. There's Abby, who's a student. So if you're speaking to somebody and it turns out that they're a student looking to earn a bit of extra money while they're at uni, then make sure you send them the one of Abby Allgood, because obviously that's going to really appeal to them. But you can choose the ones that are most relevant to the people that you're speaking to. As I've said, email it if possible, and your goal at this point is to build as big a list as possible of prospects, of leads. Now, obviously, the goal is actually to recruit as many people as possible, but a lot of people are just going to say no at the moment. And what's really, really important is that you realize that no just means not at the moment or not now. For whatever reason, it's not right for them at the moment. But if you keep them on your list, then in the future, and what I mean by having them on your list, if you keep in touch with them, so you might email them sort of once or twice a week with just different clean, easy stories. You never know when their circumstances are going to change, and Clean Easy will be right for them. So I've talked there at the bottom there a little bit about autoresponders. An autoresponder is just a kind of a smart email system, I suppose. There's a couple there that I've used in the past. Big Advertising and iContact are both good autoresponders. So just go on to Google, do a search on either of those, or speak to your upline. If your upline's using a tool, I would suggest you use the same one, because then obviously they can support you on that. And that's just a way of keeping in touch with your prospects. So email them if at all possible, because firstly you get it to them really quickly, and secondly, once you've got their email address, you can keep in touch even if they decide not to join straight away. What else can you send your prospects? So as well as all the email stuff, if you've got somebody who is kind of not quite sure, they're thinking about it, they want a bit of time to think about it, it's often really a good idea to then send them some information in the post, because people get bombarded with all sorts of emails and things like that, and actually to get something handwritten in an envelope delivered with a postman is kind of a bit different, and so it's more likely to make an impact on them. So there are things like there's the How to Get Started leaflet you can get from head office. There's the company magazine, the Team Talk magazine, which is a really glossy, professional, well presented magazine, and they can see all about there's loads of great ideas in there, great stories of people who are doing well. Send copies of checks. And so, if you look at the testimonials, Gavin Scott on his website has loads and loads of testimonials of distributors, and send a variety. So, you'll find somebody in there who's got a check for £200 odd in their first month, and that's really, really important, because so many people are just looking for an extra £50 a week. But it's also worth putting in there some examples of larger checks, or medium-sized ones, someone earning over £1,000 a month, because that can replace a full-time job. Or a really large one, somebody who's earning, say, I don't know, £5,000 a month, because that can show them what a fantastic lifestyle is possible with Clean Easy. There's examples of press articles as well, just to kind of give that third-party credibility. So have a little collection of things that you can send to somebody in the post, because if you have got somebody who's not sure, then sending something in the post can just be the difference between them joining and not. Okay, so you've decided you've got somebody who's applied to an advert, you've had a bit of a chat with them, you've sent them some information for them to have a look at. It's important now to keep track of all of these, because if you're generating more than 1 or 2 leads a day, then you will need a way of keeping track of it. My upline, Sue Marshall and Bob Dalton. Hello there, Sue. When I first joined, one of the first things that we talked about when I was saying I was interested in building a team was you need to be generating about 30 leads a week to make your business grow. And so once I realized the numbers that I was going to be working with, I needed a way of being organized. There was absolutely no way I could kind of remember 30 different names, addresses, telephone numbers, contact details, all sorts of different things. So you need to track all of that. So you need to write down, obviously, the usual stuff, their names, contact details, email address, and all that. Obviously, if you've got a contact manager piece of software, then that's a great place to put it. But wherever you're doing it, put it somewhere. And you need to keep track of their current status. What's the situation? Have they just replied? Have you called them back and you've sent them some information? Is there any current information about them that's useful? So if you were speaking to somebody and they're a student, and they're just about to start university or something, or they've retired, or especially if there's a key date in their life, so they're coming up to retirement, their job finishes in 2 weeks on the 13th of October, it would be really nice if you could give me a call the week before that, or something like that, for example. You need all of that information down somewhere so that you can then plan when you're going to call them back, when you're going to contact them again. Now, there are lots and lots of events put on by Clean Easy, regional events, local events, national events, and almost all of them are open to guests. So if you've got a prospect who's local to an event, especially if you've got a local one, I think local ones are often really good, then invite them along to one of the local events. If you've got a local opportunity meeting, you go along, introduce them to your team, to a couple of other people. It's only an hour, hour and a half, maybe on a midweek evening, usually like that. So it won't take a huge commitment of their time, and it'll just give them a really great idea of how the business works, and they get that buzz from having the meeting and seeing how excited everybody is about being in the business, and that can be a huge can have a huge impact on them, and hopefully encourage them to join your team. So as I said, there's the local ones. There's millionaires colleges, one up in Newcastle, one down there in the south, sort of West London area. There's lots of national company events. As I said, that guests are always invited to them. It's worth warning them of a dress code. So if they're a builder or a plasterer and they're covered in kind of dust and that, they might feel a little bit uncomfortable. Most of the business meetings say smart casual. You can get away with most things, but as I say, if he's a builder and he comes along in his overalls, he might just feel a little bit out of place. So you can warn them of that. If you are going to meet a guest there, make sure you arrive early. Introduce them to your other people that you know at the meetings, at the meeting there, and make them feel welcome. Okay, so what do we do next? The following up, which is basically just contacting them again after they've had a chance to have a look at the information, is really, really, really important. You will get 10 times more team members as a result of following up than if you just send them the information and say, well, if they want to join, they'll get back to me. You will have the occasional people that will do that. They'll have a look at it. They're really interested. They're excited. They'll call you up or they'll send you an email saying, Chris, this looks great. I'd love to get started. What's the next steps? But all of the ones that don't, it's not that they don't want to join. It's just that life gets in the way sometimes. The kids are a bit poorly, so they haven't had a chance to call you back, or they're busy at work or whatever. So whereas if you ring them up, you will often have conversations that go something like, oh, hi Graham, it's Chris. I'm just ringing to check if you had a chance to have a look at that Kleeneze information I sent you. And they'll say, Chris, thanks so much for ringing back. I did have a look at it. I'm really interested, actually. I've got a couple of questions. Is it okay to ask you them now? And so, just little conversations like that, because you've called them up and you've caught them when they've got a couple of minutes free, then, that will allow them just to move on to the next level in their kind of interest. So definitely worth making sure you do that follow-up. And all that follow-up is really call them back. As I've said there, it's Chris from Kleeneze. Did you get a chance to have a look at that information? What did you think? And then let them talk. Don't go kind of waffling on about what a great business it is and how much it's helped you. It's them. They need to let you know what they thought about it. Now, some of them will have reasons that they're not interested. And the thing to do here, what I found works really, really well, is if you start kind of disagreeing with them. So if they say, oh no, it wouldn't work for me in our area, I don't think people would buy from the catalogues around here. If you say, oh no, they will, I'm sure they will, don't worry about that, then because you're disagreeing, they're going to start arguing with you, and you're never going to win an argument. Or you can win the argument, but then you lose the battle because obviously you've lost any rapport with them. The best approach for something like that is what we call the feel, felt, found approach. And that's basically all you say is, yeah, I know what you mean. Actually, when I first started, I felt exactly the same. But what I found was, I just delivered my catalogues anyway, and I found I got orders from all sorts of different houses. There was, the council estates where I wasn't sure I was going to get many orders from. I got loads from. There's an area just to the north of our town with, lots of big detached houses, and I didn't get so many orders from there, but they were all really good value orders. So just by kind of agreeing with them and explaining that actually what you found was this, might just make them think, yeah, okay, I suppose, yeah, that's true. Rather than disagreeing, you're kind of agreeing with them to kind of, hopefully, as I said, just kind of build that rapport. Because as I said earlier on, people join you. They don't just join Kleeneze. And if they feel that you're understanding their concerns, they're much more likely to listen to you and then go on and join. But what's really, really important is that you don't persuade them to join. They have to decide for themselves. If you kind of sort of say, oh no, you'll be all right, don't worry, you can join, and everything will be fine and you'll get lots of orders. You know, I put 100 catalogues out the other week and I got £300 worth of orders, and I'm sure you'll do the same. If you persuade them by kind of telling them things like that, then the first time they try to put their catalogues out and they don't get a great pickup, or it rains, or somebody doesn't give them the catalogue back, then they're going to start blaming you. They'll say, well, you told me this and you told me that. Whereas if they've decided for themselves, they're much more likely to sort of persevere, just to want to kind of show themselves, if you like, that their decision was right. And then basically the next step is, once you've spoken to some people and one of them or more of them will say, yes, I'm looked at all the information, I'm really interested, how do I get started? The next step is to sponsor them into the business. Now your upline can help with this. It's a very simple business these days, but always do it with them. If they're local and you can do it face to face, that's great, because that just kind of reinforces the rapport, because obviously you're going to be working closely together anyway. And if they're not, or if they're busy, or if they would prefer, then you can just do it on the phone. It takes 10 minutes plus any time for questions. Now it used to be the sign-up process is so simple these days. It literally is 10 minutes. It used to be about half an hour, and there was lots of opportunities where it got a bit complicated, where there was lots of small print about credit agreements and things, and we used to lose a lot of people who were interested but then gave up when they were halfway through. These days it's a lot better, so you should find that people that do want to sign up, they understand what's going on. Talk them through it, go through it with them over the phone, and you know, as I say, it's 10 minutes, very simple these days. The way you do it is you just log on to kleeneze.co.uk. There's an option there to register a new account, and basically you just fill in a few details from them, their name and address, and I always do it with them, usually over the phone unless they're very local. You then send them an email and they can then walk their way through the steps. What I found is very useful is if you have the screen snapshots. So on the Kleeneze website, on the distributor support arena, within the operations menu option, there's a section that says manuals and guides and an online registration guide. And basically there's just kind of a dozen slides or so which show you the screens that they'll be looking at. So as they're going through each screen on their own computer, you can say, and the next page should have the terms and conditions. And have a little look through that, tick the box, and then you should see the box at the bottom that says continue or whatever, and then you can click on that. And because you're kind of, you can see what, you can't quite see it, but you know what they've got on their screen, it just helps you to kind of answer any questions that they might have. And it also allows you to anticipate questions, so that there's one or two spots where they have to tick a box if they want a trolley or not. So at least you can already think about, explain to them how that would work. But basically, once they've gone through that, then welcome to the team. I always just sort of say right at the end, right, that's it, we're all done. Welcome to the team. I explain what the next steps will be. Catalogues will arrive in a couple of days. And it's always good to understand, either now, if you've got a couple of minutes and they're not in a rush or whatever, or certainly within the first couple of days, to find out, and you may already know anyway because of your conversations you've had with them, what do they want from Kleeneze? And this is really, really important for you as a team leader, because there's no point in you giving them loads and loads of training on team building if all they really want is 50 quid a week doing the catalogues. Anyway, so hope that all helps. You kind of, by that point, you've now got your new team member. So this is coming towards the end now. What we've been through is whether or not you have to build a team, why I recommend that you do build a team, what tools you need, a good way to get started with your warm list, a variety of different rods you can use there, what to do when somebody replies to one of your adverts, what information to send to them, and how to then follow up, how to make that follow-up phone call. So I hope that all kind of made sense, guys. I'm just going to stop the recording of this one. Hold on.